always been a bit of a nerd. From dorky glasses to obscure hobbies, I think I've successfully earned that title for myself. But this speech right here may be the nerdiest thing I have ever presented to a crowd, and that, my friends, is saying a lot, because in 3rd grade, I sang a Minecraft song in front of my entire school for a talent show. Yeah, it's embarrassing now, but it's also a telling descriptor of my personality, unfortunately. My interest in coding and computer science is no exception to this rule. From a young age, I'd always been fascinated by technology and how it worked. Because of this, when I got my first computer, I was immediately addicted. Some of my fondest childhood memories are of trying to find glitches in games or messing with HTML to make my layout on a website look cool. It wasn't anything particularly difficult or even informative, but it was fun to see how I could bend the code in the way I wanted, and in the case of glitches, break it. Discovering the inspect element command as a kid made me feel like a 10-year-old hacker. It wasn't until this year, though, that I began taking coding seriously. What had been a hobby before suddenly became a full course load after I enrolled in the 3 computer science classes offered out of school. What I found from learning Java at first was a lot of frustration. After all, a single error can kill your entire code and force every single other line to not run. I can assure you all, it is not fun going back to line 623 of your code to try and figure out what simple mistake you made, a simple mistake that is breaking everything else in there. With the cryptic error messages provided by Java as your only guide, coding is a game of precision, and if a single thing is off, your entire code won't start. It's a tough process, especially as you start, and things get more technical as you go. Somehow, though, even though it's incredibly aggravating, there is satisfaction to be found in the debugging process. In the moment, it can drive you to the brink of insanity. Sometimes there are so many errors, it feels impossible to fix them all. Even so, finding the problem with your code, fixing it, then watching your program compile in its full glory is an indescribable feeling. It's like reaching the end of the 26-mile-long marathon. You're finally done, your code is working, and you can freely move on with your life. This kind of mindset is exactly what would lead me to applying a coding point of view to my own work ethic, and managing to make my life a lot easier because of it. I take a lot of pride in my schoolwork. Like I said, I'm a nerd. I've got a lot of things I want to do and a lot of money I want to make, so I need good grades to do that. Even with that, though, there's something that I've always never been able to grasp: a work ethic. My procrastination skills are nigh impossible to outdo. From a young age, I'm talking about 7 years old, I always pushed off my work until the most unholy hours of the night, and eventually, as I got older, the morning. Even when I realized I had a problem in middle school, I responded by procrastinating on my procrastination issue and promising that I would fix it all in high school. Spoiler alert, COVID hit, and I didn't fix it in high school. Self-improvement is really difficult when you're waking up 5 minutes before class and going to school in a hoodie and pajama bottoms. Instead, I just got worse. Have any of you ever heard of the domino effect? According to Merriam-Webster, it's a cumulative effect produced when one event initiates a succession of similar events. In other words, when you do one thing, it'll lead to a chain reaction of other things like it. Me and this effect got very close during my freshman year of high school. I was trapped in what I like to call the no-sleep cycle. Every day, I would push off my homework until about 1 o'clock in the morning. This is where the cycle starts. After that, it would take another 2 to 3 hours to complete all the homework, leaving me with about 3 hours of sleep at night. Because of this, I would be too tired to focus in class the next day, and eventually later in the night when I had homework to do. This would once again lead to me pushing it all off until late in the night, causing the cycle to repeat itself once again. That is a mouthful. It is an infinite loop of suffering, and being too tired to fix the problem, nothing changed. Obviously, going into sophomore year, I knew I needed to do something differently. The issue was, I had no idea how to change. See, when I realized how badly this issue was affecting my life, my first thought was to try and find advice online and follow that. Ideas like make a planner or remove all distractions from your environment was everywhere. But no matter how much I tried to follow these guidelines, they never seemed to help, and my bad habits would always win out. All the generic solutions I found online failed, and by the time I read one that told me to just start working and it'll work out, I realized these weren't going to help me. I'd honestly almost given up. That was until I started my computer science class and got a bunch of arrows thrown straight in my face. Errors in code are very similar to the domino effect. They're practically the same thing. In a program, if just one thing is off, it causes a chain reaction, and everything else refuses to compile. When I realized this, I related to it heavily in the way that only a nerd who has spent their life on a computer could. When my sleep schedule is off, I can't focus at all, and because of that, a million errors cause my brain to not compile its program called logic. When I realized that, something clicked. If I thought about my own work ethic through a point of view I understand, could something go from there? For those of you who don't code, there are 3 steps you should take when dealing with an error in your code. First off, identify the problem. What is going on here? What does Java's cryptic message say the issue is? Is it something simple like a missing semicolon, or a bigger, more conceptual problem? Next, once you've figured that out, make a small change. If it works, don't mess with it anymore. But if it continues to fail, think outside the box to see if any other lines are affecting it. Finally, make sure your program is correct. If it runs, but something is still glitched by the end, go back and make more changes. It's a simple problem-solving system. By applying this to my own work ethic, I was able to make finally some progress in improving my lifestyle. I had already identified the problem years ago. The big difficulty came in making a change. All the other times I had attempted to fix my work ethic, I had tried to do it in one fell swoop. That is, I expected the problem to fix itself in an instant, and that suddenly, using the power of internet advice, I would do my homework the moment I got home from school, finish it in 2 hours, then spend the rest of the night diligently studying before going to sleep at 10 o'clock p.m. Yeah, that didn't happen. Change doesn't happen like that. But with a newfound mindset and perspective, I was able to work out a way to make myself work. I took things slowly, just like I would while coding. Here's the thing, you can't fix every error in a program in just a single minute. Most of the time, there are different issues that you need to focus on before it can all run correctly. Because of this outlook, I was able to pace myself more in changing, rather than trying to fix the whole issue at once like I had in the past. From here, all I had to do was watch and see if the changes I had made were helping. And to my surprise, they were. Getting even just 2 more hours of sleep a night made a huge difference in my grades and just my general happiness overall. Even if it was a slow start, I was making progress. Progress that I couldn't have made if I hadn't thought about my problems in a creative way that even I could understand. This stability and algorithmic logic of coding is something that appeals to me and allowed me to understand my issue. Because of this, applying it to my real-world issues made for a very creative solution to something I had never been able to figure out before. But what am I trying to say here? Am I telling you all to go get up and learn computer science right now because that's the only way you're going to fix your issues? Go learn some Java and immediately get a promotion, a free trip to Hawaii, and a puppy? Absolutely not. I know there are some people in the crowd who haven't been able to relate to all my ramblings about computer science. Some people are so technologically illiterate that they can probably set a computer on fire with their eyes. Hi, Mom. Oh my God, my paper ripped apart. What I'm trying to tell you is that sometimes to understand something, you can put it into a perspective that would make sense to you. Sometimes, even if it would make no sense to the person next to you, by thinking about things in a strange and uncanny way, you can find the solution that most helps you. Modern problems require modern solutions and all that jazz. For me, my work ethic is still a large work in progress. There's good days and there's bad, but finding the steps to a solution that I can actually comprehend and put into action has changed my mindset forever. When I was younger, I believed that I was failing by not being able to use other solutions people put out for me. That something was wrong with my brain, with me as a whole. Because of this, I wasn't able to figure out a solution for myself. I almost gave up in a sense, since it seemed like there was simply no answer to my problems. That's why the discovery that you can make your own solutions to things, and that that things don't always work for you the same as they work for other people, was so completely revolutionary for me. I'm sure there are some of you out there in the crowd that haven't connected to a coding POV at all, and that's completely okay, because you have your own way of looking at things. Using these perspectives to your advantage is exactly what this speech is about. There's millions of different ways to solve every problem, just like in code, where you can use a million different combinations to make the same exact output. Once you find the one for you, then you can change your life for the better. Thank you.